Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining to the Marine Plant-Based University. And today we also have a wonderful guest too. So David, thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, Alyssa. How are you?
Perfect. So David, could you please introduce a little bit about yourself for the beginning?
So I'm David Ramjohn, originally from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, currently in Texas, USA, where I'm the CEO of an algae biotech company, or microalgae, where we have patented technology that allows us to grow microalgae at scale. I'm primarily a marine biologist turned entrepreneur, and I'm now here in the US as a legal permanent resident under category E16, sorry, which apparently is reserved for aliens with extraordinary ability in science and business and so on. So somebody at the US Citizenship and Immigration Service has determined that I meet those qualifications.
Oh my God.
I myself was quite surprised at it, but we're focused on using microalgae as an economic platform that can generate, economic, social, and environmental benefits for all of humanity. And we see this as being the natural successor to petroleum as an economic platform. Essentially thinking that petroleum is nothing more than ancient microalgae in the first place. Petroleum comes from carbon that was sequestered by these organisms over hundreds of millions of years and turned into crude and natural gas by the effects of time, temperature, and pressure. So whatever we can make from petroleum, we can make from microalgae and macroalgae. Marine plants, as your university is called, is a very good, catch-all term for it, because microalgae is phytoplankton. Macroalgae is just algae that you can see with the naked eye.
Don't say that.
It's the same, it's the same principle.
But I get the point.
The key issue here is that they photosynthesize. So like I said, I call myself an algae evangelist.
Love it. I love that. So catchy.
It is a term that was coined by a colleague of mine, Dr. Mark Edwards, and I've co-opted it and use it regularly because people need to know. We need to spread the word about this group of organisms and what they're capable of doing. We have to look at what they have done, what they currently do, and what, if we are wise enough, we can harness them to do for us in the future. And I use the word harness rather than exploit, because language is very important.
Oh, for sure.
By harnessing them, I think we get across the meaning that, look, we're not trying to use the organisms or overuse them. We're trying to get them to do what they've been doing for the past 2.7 billion years. It's just that with technology and our modern, equipment and AI and everything, to get them to do it faster, more efficiently, and to generate the benefits that we need, quicker, because we're in dire straits in terms of what's going on with our planet.
For sure.
And the fact is that microalgae are the organisms that made this planet hospitable to us in the first place.
Yes, true.
And people don't understand that. Microbes rule the world. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, we as a species, we tend to overlook microbes unless they can kill us, or unless we can make bread and beer from them.
For sure, for sure.
So, it's one of those situations where, if it weren't for microbes, a lot of what we take for granted wouldn't be here or wouldn't be functional. Even us, human beings, I ask the question of students and people I talk to all the time, how much of your body is actually human cells?
True.
And most people don't understand the question to begin with, but the fact is that a significant percentage of our bodies are not human cells. They're bacteria and other organisms. Excuse me. But they live on us and they live in us, and the flora and fauna that live inside of us, in our intestines and so on, are critical to our health. And we have been through the overuse of antibiotics and so on, have been destroying our internal flora and fauna to the point where we're having illnesses that we never had before. And we're having all sorts of symptoms come up now. And we have gotten to the point where we have to be using prebiotics and probiotics to put back into our system the bacteria and other microbes that we have removed through the overuse of antibiotics. So the importance of microbes cannot be overlooked. And in a natural system, in an ecosystem, it is the microbes that do the most work to support those ecosystems, whether it be in aquatic or terrestrial ecosystems. And this is where microalgae come to the fore, that in any ecosystem in which they occur, they support the trophic levels above them. So all of the other organisms that don't photosynthesize are going to be eating microalgae because they need a food source. And microalgae, through photosynthesis, is producing the most common food source on the planet, glucose. So the photosynthetic process is the single most important biochemical process.
Oh, sure. Sorry to cut in, David. I'm really, Andrews, people need, I totally in the same page. That's why the Marine Plant-Based University is here today. We would love to explain about what's the benefit, what's the importance of the digestion, because I'm actually originally from Japan. And as you know, Japanese is a number one longevity country because we understand the most important thing is the digestion. And we also care about not just having the bacteria, but also soluble fiber, insoluble fiber. The balance is important. Nutrition is important. So that's why this university is a great, I believe that this university can be a great platform to understand about those importance. But, today, those kind of a lecture we can do with the other situation. We're doing a kind of a lecture contents over there, but we have a precious moment today. We would love to listen your story because it's unique. Yours really unique because listen, you are the microalgae scientist. Then why did you decide to start to study with that? Why did you decide to create this company? I would love to listen more your personal information.
Oh, sure. So it all began in undergrad botany many, many years ago, more than I care to tell. But the professor walked in on the first day and drew a circle on the board. And that was his representation of the most common algal cell there is, which is a sphere. And he drummed into us during that semester what these organisms were, how important they were to our life form. And we didn't even open a textbook in that class.
Okay.
Spent the majority of the semester teaching us about microalgae and their importance. And that information stayed with me. I didn't actually put it to use until probably, 10, 15 years later, when I was working in Trinidad and Tobago and was appointed to a committee that was looking for ways to diversify away from petroleum. And my mind went back to microalgae as a sustainable and renewable source of biofuels. And in researching the biofuels aspect of microalgae, I recognized that there was so much more that could be done with microalgae than just liquid fuels. And in fact, it may be more useful and more economical to do the higher value products. Rather than going after a commodity like biofuel, we should be focusing on the food and the feed and the pharmaceutical aspect, cosmetics, soil amendments. There's so many other things that you can make from microalgae. So it came to me that, look, biofuels might not be the thing that we ought to be looking at these organisms for, simply because nature had been making petroleum, which is a biofuel, for hundreds of millions of years on a planetary scale that we simply couldn't compete with. You can lift a barrel of oil from the Middle East for about $8. It'll cost you about $8 to make a gallon of biofuel from microalgae. So it just doesn't make economic sense. So I went on to develop a business plan built around microalgae for non-fuel purposes. And that really was, the genesis of this whole thing. I built my business plan to work in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, as I told you, and was successful in getting funding through the Export-Import Bank of Trinidad and Tobago to fund that project. But the technology that I was using came from Texas. It originated here in Texas. And I had met the company back in 2013 after scouring the landscape to see what technologies were available to grow microalgae, to harvest microalgae, and to produce the products. Because it seemed obvious to me that the most important thing, if you were trying to make algae an economic platform, was going to be the ability to produce it at commercial scale. So if you want to make, food from algae, you're going to have to be able to produce, algae or microalgae at the same scale that we produce corn, cotton, wheat, soy, all of these products. So I had focused on finding the technology to grow the microalgae at scale. And in all of the technologies that I reviewed, this one from this company here in Texas was the best. So I had visited them in 2013 and had agreed to use their technology in my project, and went about, setting up and doing everything. So kept in touch with the company from 2013 onwards.
Could you please give any message for the audience about, especially who wanted to start the marine plant-based business? What would you wanted to give them advice?
So have a plan. What you're doing. Make sure that you secure the capital that you need to do it. Give yourself enough operational runway, enough money for, installing your capex, because that's one of the things that absolutely needs to happen for this industry to succeed. We are looking for new investors at this point in time, but the algae industry is new, and investors don't understand it. They don't see, what's going to come back to them, but it requires patient capital. So you have to have these things in place. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get anything off the ground, regardless of how good your idea is. We've got two excellent products, a line of skincare and a line of soil amendment that have excellent reviews. And, we've got technology that works. And all we are looking for now is capital to scale. But that's been one of the most difficult things for us to secure, because either the investors have been burnt by the biofuels fiasco, they put a lot of money into that and lost it, or they just don't know what can be done with microalgae. So they become now a key part of the audience that we need to educate. Put money into this, because that's what the industry needs. It's the same thing like the oil industry, which is subsidized and which has received a lot of funding, before it became profitable. So algae is just like that. Look at Japan. Japan actually has a project going on now called the Matsuri, which you may be familiar with. And the Japanese government has put $400 million into the Matsuri. And there are over 50 companies that are signed on to it. And the Matsuri is looking at creating an algae-based, a microalgae-based economy for Japan. That's the scale at which we need to have funding coming into this. So we as a company and anybody else looking to get into this, get your funding first. Don't try to get it without having your plan.
And on the same time, I guess one more important thing is most of the technology company don't understand the marketing. Of course, we need to create a good quality, good product. There's no debate. However, even if they have a great product and they don't have power to spread it out, that's fail too. So honestly, like marine plant-based biotech company always have that struggle. They are really good at technology, but they don't know how to spread out. So that's why we are here today. We would love to, as our company, we have 1.3 million followers in TikTok with no advertisement, only in 3 years. So we are happy to share our story or knowledge to kick back to the community. So David, if you need any support from our side, always I'm here and I'm always happy to share my story. But thank you so much for the time. This was a really interesting story, and especially there's not many startup company are focused on the microalgae, and most of our marine plant-based organization, the company are belong to seaweed or those kind of a kelp, as you know. But it was great. It was really interesting story that you really start from the scratch, and congratulations. I cannot wait to see you soon. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much. You all take care.